A CIA agent is betrayed by his handler, resulting in his death. After coming back from hell, will he prioritize avenging his death over saving humanity? Let's find out in the 1997 anti-hero film Spawn. As the war between heaven and hell intensifies, the devil named Malebolgia sends a lieutenant to Earth to recruit men who will cause chaos in the world in exchange for wealth and power. With enough sinful souls at hand, Malebolgia currently has an army of his own to begin an Armageddon. Yet, he still needs one man who will lead his army and defeat heaven. Meanwhile, at a military airbase in Hong Kong, a CIA agent named Simmons is tasked to kill the leader of the Algerian Revolutionary Front. With that, he barges inside the control center and shoots everyone dead, not giving them any time to react or fight back. Then he sets up his rocket launcher and waits for the right moment to attack. However, he doesn't know that there are many bystanders, so when he launches the rocket to take down his target, they die with him as well. Afterward, Al enables the self-destruct button on the rocket launcher, leaving no evidence behind as everything burns into ashes. Unknown to him, he is being watched by a man named Cagliostro. According to him, just like Al, he was a man of violence, but it resulted in his soul getting pulled toward the darkness. Yet, Cagliostro fought and freed his soul, so he takes it to himself to not let any man get down the same path as he did. That is why he is watching over Al. Contrary to the belief that it is evil that causes sins on earth, it is actually humanity that did it to themselves. Their bad choices in life are what caused their souls to get enslaved to hell, ultimately causing the strengthening of evil. Cagliostro points out that life itself is the test of good and evil. Sometime later, at the A6 headquarters in the United States of America, a man named Jason Wynn, Al's superior officer, is talking to a devil called Clown about how good of a lapdog Al is. Clown, on the other hand, doesn't care much about Al and is more concerned about the ultimate weapon that Jason promised him. In turn, Jason says that making a biological weapon takes time and needs perfection for it not to backfire on them. He then assures Clown that everything will be set in place according to their plan in due time. Counting on Jason's promise, Clown states that he will also need Al for his plans, so he orders him to take his favorite assassin to him. The next day, Al meets with his friend and another CIA agent named Terry Fitzgerald. On their way to the A6 headquarters, Terry shows Al the newspaper that reads about the innocent bystanders that were killed in his operation last night. Just then, the smile on Al's face is erased as he realizes what he had done. But Terry insists that it is their boss, Jason Wynn's fault. According to him, Jason's recent operations were making quite a mess, including innocent civilians in the kill count of every operation. Arriving at the A6 headquarters, Al goes to Jason's office and confronts him, stating that the airport's kill zone was supposed to be clear of civilians. However, his boss just calls them a necessary sacrifice to take out their real target. Because of this, Al tells him that if he wants to kill many people in his operations, he should send another agent, Jessica Priest. Pissed, Jason insists that he will send whoever he wants on the mission and that Al should always follow him because he is his boss. But to his shock, Al declares that he wants to quit. In turn, Jason says that he knows Al very well and that he will not be happy doing anything else because he is born to be a killing machine. Yet, Al remarks that there's nothing Jason can say to change his mind. With that, Jason finally agrees to let him go, but he asks him to do another mission for him for the last time before he retires, saying that this is very urgent. According to him, a North Korean refinery is secretly producing biological weapons and points out that they need to take out the plant once and for all. Hearing this, Al agrees to the mission, wanting to just finish it so he can go home to his fiancée, Wanda. Due to that, they immediately go to North Korea to shut down the plant and destroy all the biochemical viruses. However, Al realizes that bombing the plant will mean putting the lives of every person living within a mile from there. Just then, Jason explains that their priorities have just changed, telling him that all the people in the nearby town will be experimental hosts. Knowing this, Al points his gun at Jason, saying that he will not let him do it. But to his shock, Priest suddenly shoots him from behind, mocking him that she will finally be promoted. At this time, Al finally understands that Jason sets up everything to take the biological weapon and kill him. And with that, Jessica shoots fuel at him and Jason sets him on fire with his cigarette, taunting Al that he will take good care of Wanda. In his dying moment, Al screams Wanda's name as the plant explodes around him. Just then, Al seems to fall into hell. However, he suddenly finds himself in a slum called Rat City. As he wakes up, he is greeted by Clown, but he's so confused that Al stumbles his way around the alleyway. Not long after, he finally sees his burnt appearance in his reflection in a puddle. There, a kid named Zach sees him and offers him a bottle of soda, but he rudely refuses and tells the kid to go away. Subsequently, Al finally meets Cagliostro and he notices that he seems to know what's happening to him. According to Cagliostro, Al is gone for a long time and invites him to stay in Rat City, which he is calling a holy place. But as Al walks around, the place screams unholiness, contrary to what Cagliostro said. Still, he invites Al to stay with them if he likes, but he insists that he has a home. When Al leaves, Cagliostro declares that another hellspawn has emerged from the darkness and is now roaming the earth. The next morning, Hal finally makes his way back home, only to find Wanda married to Terry and having a kid of their own, a little girl named Cyan. As it turns out, 5 years have passed already since the incident in North Korea. At this time, Cyan is having a birthday party and Al witnesses how happy their family is. At this time, Al grunts in pain as something happens to his skin. Meanwhile, his dog, Spaz, hears him and runs to him as the dog still recognizes him even though his whole appearance has changed. Subsequently, Cyan follows after Spaz and sees Al. Being the good girl that she is, Cyan offers Al candy even though she doesn't know who he is. Just then, Wanda and Terry see her talking to what they think is a stranger, so they immediately take her away from him. The clown at the party then shows up and apologizes to the couple, stating that the man is with him. Because of that, Terry orders both of them to leave. When the two are gone, Wanda tells Terry that the man calls her by her name. Hearing this, he asks her to take Cyan inside as he gets the gut feeling that they actually know who the burned man is. Later on, it's revealed that the clown is actually the devil clown and he takes Al back to Rat City. At this point, Al is in pain, both emotionally and physically as he remembers his moments with Wanda, at the same time feeling like his skin is about to explode. In turn, Clown casually says that it's just his viral necroplasm going through the larval stage. Al orders him to take him to the hospital, but Clown says not even a whole team of doctors could fix him because he is actually dead. Because Al cannot still understand what is truly happening, Clown takes him back to the moment that Jason burned him to death and fell into hell. Shortly, he immediately meets Malebolgia. Being a powerful demon, Malebolgia knows what Al desires and he takes advantage of it. According to him, Al will be with Wanda again if he leads his army of Hellspawn, to which Al quickly agrees. And with that, thousands of Hellspawn appear and Malebolgia warns him that he will pay for his life if he fails him. And for his first order, Malebolgia tells him to kill Jason, which makes it easier for Al to agree because he also wants revenge. Going back to reality, Clown says he spent 5 years in hell because Malebolgia prepares him to be the commander of his army, hence the sudden change in Wanda's life. However, Al seems to not fully understand yet that he really died back in North Korea, so Clown takes him to his grave next. There, 3 Satanist dudes do a stupid ritual to summon Satan. Not long after, they find Al and Clown as the former just finished digging his own grave and sees his locket, finally realizing that he indeed died. In pain, Al fully transforms into his final form, scaring off the Satanist dudes. Just then, Clown hails him as the general of Hell's army with the name Spawn. When they go back to Rat City, Clown leaves him for a while, but Cagliostro then appears, warning him that the devils are just using him. Spawn then asks who he truly is, to which Cagliostro reveals that he's also an assassin like him, only that he was doing it for the Kingdom of Saxony 500 years ago. Hearing this, Spawn starts to get overwhelmed with all the supernatural things happening around him, so he just heads out and goes straight to his 6 headquarters to steal some weapons. Inside, Jason watches on the television as Terry, who now works as the spokesperson for the CIA, defends the agency from different accusations thrown at them. In doing so, he is also making Jason's name popular to the world, which rubs his ego well. For him, Terry is just like Al, who is nothing but a mere pawn for him to achieve his selfish desires. At this time, Jason explains to Jessica that he finally completes the formula for his biological weapon called Heat-16. According to him, this biological weapon will make Ebola look like a skin rash, and that is how dangerous it is. As it turns out, he plans to spread it all over the world, and with only him who has the cure, he thinks that the world will bow to him after he saves it. Not long after, Terry arrives and tells Jason that they should go to the assembly now. But before they go, Terry raises his growing concern about the truth behind their operations, stating that he doesn't want to lie to the media anymore. However, all he gets is a threat from Jason, making it clear that he will not let anyone get in his way, not even Terry or his family. At this time, he sees a suspicious CD with the label Special Ops on it. Subsequently, they go to the assembly and finally arrive shortly after. However, Terry gets an alert from the security of a 6 that somebody barged in and stole arms in their armory. Meanwhile, Jason talks to some important people with whom he is corroborating his plan with the Heat-16. According to him, they will not have to worry about anything because he is in full control of its release. But their conversation is interrupted when Terry alerts Jason about what happened in the headquarters. In turn, Jason asks who is responsible for the break-in, but there is no update about it. Yet, Terry assures him that Jessica is already waiting for them to ensure his safety. And as they make their way to leave the assembly, Spawn suddenly crashes down from the ceiling, scaring off everyone. Just then, he chokes Jason, who at the time doesn't have an idea of who he is. Because of that, Spawn makes him remember how he left him to die at the biochemical plant 5 years ago. With that, he thrashes him around as anger fills his heart. He also confronts Terry for betraying him and asks how he could marry Wanda after what happened to him. Realizing that the man in front of him is his old friend Al, Terry reasons that Wanda was very devastated when he was gone, so he takes it upon himself to make her happy. At this moment, he asks Spawn if he knows about Cyan, which implies that he could be her real father after all. With that, Spawn lets go of Terry and gets back his attention to Jason. But when he is about to shoot him, Jessica shows up and shoots at him. Confused, she asks what is happening and Jason reveals to him that the attacker is Al. Luckily, he has healing abilities which surprises him as well. Due to that, he immediately gets back to Jessica and takes her out as the first part of his revenge. At this time, Clown shows up to commend him for finally doing his mission instead of just whining about Wanda. Yet, Jason takes this opportunity to escape while the police try to take Spawn down. While on the run, Spawn discovers his other abilities such as his chains, shape-shifting powers, camouflaging, and flight. This then allows him to finally escape. After a while, Jason meets with Clown and he asks why he didn't warn him against Spawn. In turn, Clown lies that Spawn gets ready sooner than he expected and points out that he is out for blood. Because of that, he suggests that Jason should put the trigger of Heat 16 to his heart. Then, make it go off when his heart stops beating so Spawn and any other people won't attempt to kill him. Realizing that Clown makes sense, Jason agrees to the suggestion, not knowing that he just fell for the devil's scheme once again. As it turns out, Clown is purposely pitting Spawn and Jason against each other so he can achieve Male Bulge's greater goal, which is to release the biological weapon to make the world suffer and complete his Hellspawn army. Meanwhile, Spawn goes to a convention where Wanda is talking about the threat of the spreading of a disease, which started back in North Korea after the explosion 5 years ago. There, Spaz smells him once again, so it runs to him. Cyan then notices this and runs after the dog, causing her to trip. Spawn then helps her get up. And for the first time since he got back to Earth, someone is not afraid of how he looks. In fact, Cyan is kind of amazed by his appearance. Just then, the two get to know each other for a little bit before Spawn takes Cyan back to where Wanda can find her. Shortly after, Terry arrives and says they need to go home immediately. However, they cannot find Spaz anywhere as he doesn't want to get away from Spawn, so the family is forced to leave without the dog. At the same time, for the same reason, Spawn has no other choice but to take Spaz with him to Rat City where he finds Zack being mistreated by his father. He saves the kid, but he begs him not to kill his father. With that, they become friends and he introduces Spaz to Zack. Not long after, Clown arrives so Spawn tells Zack to go. At this time, Spawn has some realizations and confronts the devil for pitting him and Jason against each other for Male Bulge's evil plan. With that, he asks why they chose him to lead their Hellspawn army. It is then revealed that even before he was born, he was already chosen, so all those assassination missions that he got as a CIA agent was part of a greater scheme to mold him to be the best of Male Bulge's army. Hearing all this, Spawn decides not to follow Male Bulge's laid out path for him anymore. Due to that, he doesn't want to kill Jason anymore and plans to take out Clown instead. In turn, Clown gets mad and reveals his true form to fight Spawn. It's then revealed that the fat midget Clown is actually a huge gecko-like devil called Violator. The two fight, but because Spawn doesn't have full control of his abilities just yet, he loses to Violator miserably. To make matters worse, he tells Spawn that he will go to Wanda and make him want to kill Jason again when he kills Wanda. When Violator leaves, Cagliostro shows up and saves him. Then he teaches Spawn everything he needs to learn about his abilities. According to him, Spawn's armor has trillions of neuroconnections that he can use to potentially do anything he wants as long as he stays focused. In short, his armor is the extension of himself and will follow what he wants it to do when he is finally able to control it. After training for a short while, he goes to Wanda's place, knowing that he doesn't have much time to practice everything. On the way, he comes across Violator, who's also on his way to Wanda's, and they fight once again. This time, he can control his abilities better, but Violator still gets the upper hand. Concurrently, Terry turns out to steal the Special Ops CD from a 6 headquarters and discovers Jason's plan. Because of that, he plans to send it to his friend who's a journalist, but he's interrupted when Jason shows him while pointing a gun at Wanda and Cyan. He then attacks Terry and shoots his computer, stopping the sending of the evidence that will end his career. Then, Violator shows up next, and they restrain the family. When Spawn shows up, he sees Wanda tied up and how Jason mercilessly stabs her. They fight and he almost kills him again, but he manages to stop himself and decides to just take the trigger out of his heart instead. Just then, it's revealed that the Wanda that Jason stabbed is just Violator in disguise. Upon transforming back, he catches Spawn off guard, and Cagliostro shows up to help. Knowing that he's outnumbered, Violator goes to Hell and plans to fight the two with home court advantage. However, Spawn still manages to defeat him, entering Malebolgia. He then summons all his Hellspawn to kill Spawn. Although he manages to kill hundreds of them, there are still more, so he takes Cagliostro instead and goes back to Earth. But without any of them noticing, Violator comes back and ambushes Spawn. At this time, Cyan calls him Daddy. As the truth comes out, Cyan is his daughter and Terry is just her stepfather. With that, Spawn gets more reason to be good, resulting in him finally killing Violator by decapitating him. And before it gets back to Hell, Spawn tells Violator to warn Malebolgia that he's coming for him next. Some time later, the police arrive and arrest Jason, finally exposing him for all his crimes. The movie ends with Spawn looking over the city from the Church of Rat City, becoming the hero that humanity didn't deserve, but the hero they need. Spawn is a really fun, but also messy movie. Yet, considering that it was released in 1997, this can be considered one of the greatest of its time. Overall, it captures the sense of what Spawn is, but the execution can be better, and we can just hope that DC can release a really great Spawn movie one of these years.